to the Philmont Trek Talk live chat, where we talk about everything involved in helping people have the absolute best trek possible at Philmont. Boy, that is hard to say when you're excited, and I am clearly excited here. We want everyone to have the best trek possible at Philmont Scout Ranch. Okay, there we go. Whew. I can calm down. We're almost to trek season, and it's got me all jazzed up. I'm fired up, guys. So we're going to be quick because we're going to lose Scott in a little bit. He has a prior engagement. So real quick, hi, I'm Jeff. I'll be your tour guide this evening. I until last year was the skipper of a Sea Scout ship in North Carolina, and I go to Philmont whenever I can. You know, I've been a few times, not as many times as Mr. T. So, who are you, Mr. T?
Mr. T, Greater St. Louis Area Council, High Adventure Committee contingent, council contingent organizer for the last, more than two handfuls. But anyways, and made several treks, hiked quite a few, and just trying to pass along the good points to make your trek as great as it can be.
Nice.
Mr. Scott.
Awesome. Scott O'Mary here in Plano, Texas, in Circle 10 Council. I am fast approaching my 10th year as Scoutmaster of Troop 259, and I am getting 2 crews ready for 2026. So I'm excited for those guys. I'm not signed up to it, but I might go. I might go.
That's cool. I hope you're able to go. Yeah. I know it's tough when you're doing an organization, and then like there's so many other people who've never been, and you want to be nice, but like you also want to go. So you might consider as much time as you spend at the ranch, talking about the ranch, thinking about the ranch, you might consider becoming a Philmont Free Agent. I'm just saying. I could see you. We rename you Dale. You can be like Dale Wirtz Jr. and go on 4 or 5 treks a summer.
You know, if a free agent was free, I would definitely sign up. But.
You know, people give me a hard time when I say that. But I have gone where I was I say last minute, like I was added to the crew 3 days before the trek to fill in for someone who broke his leg and had already paid for travel and the trek and everything. And his son was going to need some assistance on the trek. So basically I don't think of myself as a Sherpa on that trek because the kid like fought me about carrying anything. He would get mad at me if I carried his tent, but there were a few times when he was just really small. And the pack weighed like half of his body weight. So I would steal things out of his pack whenever possible, which was easy because he wasn't big enough to stop me. But anyhow, you can pull that off sometimes, except for me. I can't do it this year. I think I'm out for this summer, by the way. I'm so excited for all the people that are going. I had a couple crews that were waiting on me to get back to them as I figured out dates for when would work out for me. And I had to bow out because I don't know why, I've got this weird clicking and popping and swelling going on in one of my knees whenever I go upstairs. So, and it's bad if I'm carrying stuff. So extra weight makes it even worse. So I just don't think I'm going to backpack this summer. I think I'm going to get an MRI and probably another knee surgery here shortly. So
a little cortisone shot too.
Oh man. Do they make big ones? All right, so our agenda for today, we're going to get some. I'm looking at the agenda on the other screen, by the way. That's why it looks like I'm looking off to the side here. Let's see.
It's your best side.
Yeah, well, it's the best one that's on this side, at least. A few minutes of the basic stuff where a crew should be prepping for this year or next year. We will talk about that. Announcements. And okay, so let's talk about real quick. This is an interactive program. It goes better if you leave questions in the comments. And we are primarily following the comments on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, and I do see some people out there, please, number one, leave us a note. Let us know you're there. That'd be awesome. Even if you don't have a question, just let us know you're there. If you're going this summer, what your crew is, when you're going to be there. if you've been before. All of that stuff, it'll become conversation fodder later. But if you have questions specific to a trek, especially if you're going to go before our next live, be sure you ask those questions early, and we'll be sure to get answers for you or make something up, whatever.
Yeah.
We're going to talk.
Nobody's going before our next, unless they're a June 9 or 10.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. It is possible that the crew's going. There will be people hitting the trail before we go live on the 10th of June. So there will be 2-3 days worth of crews going. You got crews going, don't you?
We're a June 9 crew. We got 5 of them.
Yeah. One of the crews that I was considering going with was going to be like day one.
Yep.
And I don't know if I want to be on day one, but for other reasons. I like to have meetings with staff, about Philmont and how the group can help do things, but what we can do better in the group. And you can't do that on day one. Like if they're putting out fires and like, that'd be really bad. So let's see, we're going to talk about etiquette for posting and responding and how to answer questions appropriately in the group. Let's see, we're going to talk about weight. We've had some really good discussions in the Facebook group, which I may have missed that. The Philmont Trek Talk group on Facebook, if you're not a part of it, please go find it. That's what this is about here, is a discussion for that group. Darrel's got some updates about things happening in Cimarron. Let's see. We're going to talk about the guidebook to adventure and other official publications. Ashley could pop in from the top. We don't know. She makes it about 1 out of 10 times. I think she's just too busy. 1 out of 10 times that she says she might make it.
I had a conversation with her about 4 or 5 days ago, and she's got some school issues with her children that she needed to take care of, but she says, I just might get them done and jump in at the end.
Yeah, well, we'd love for her.
Yeah, so
we'd love to have her. She can make it. Okay, so let's dive in. Scott, since you're gonna turn into a pumpkin on us, are any of the things we talked about on the agenda that you wanted to talk about before you leave?
Yeah, I probably should talk about, for those crews that are signed up for 2026, where they should be. That's probably where my head is tonight. Okay. And you guys chime in. Sure. I can tell you what I'm doing with our crews, but in general, most crews, if you aren't a 12-person crew, continue to recruit. Keep trying to fill those spots. There's a lot of advantages to having a full crew, primarily spreading that crew weight out is probably the number one thing, and having a lot of hands to do your duty roster for your crew lead. So continue recruiting if you don't have a full crew. And a little bit may be dependent on where you live. I'm here in Texas, and it is brutally hot in the summertime. I don't like to do any shakedown hikes over the summer for our groups. It's just not something you're going to experience too much at Philmont. It won't be as brutal, in my opinion. So what we did for 2026 is back in April and early May, we did a two weekender thing where one weekend we just did a day hike. We talked about trail etiquette, went through our personal gear list, made sure everybody knew what they needed on a trek. And then a couple of weekends later, we did a one-nighter at a local scout camp, did an outpost where they had a Philmont-style campsite, and we ran through the duty roster backwards and forwards, making sure everybody had those skills, or at least were introduced to those skills on throwing bear ropes and using the sump and the two-pot method. And so if you're not as brutal summers, you might be wanting to do some of that work this summer where you live with your crews. And we're going to start in earnest back in the fall for a full-time shakedown hike. And I think I lost you.
I'm here.
Okay.
We did lose. We lost Darrel. Apparently, hopefully he'll get back in here shortly.
Okay.
So Yeah, that's all good information. And it's something. Oh, Darrell says everything just froze. Um, and I think you said you saw something like that as well. I
Yeah.
could be something with the network on my end since I'm the one running the software. I don't know. Let's see. We did get a question coming in, and this is kind of relevant to a discussion that's been happening the last day or two in the group. Scott asked, the other Scott from Texas asked, the other Scott from the other place in Texas asked, if using, I know, yeah, if using an iPhone on the trail, which app do you recommend to track your trek? Do you use it in airplane mode? Yeah, so this is tangential to what's been discussed in the group, which was having GPS to back up the scouts in their navigation. Now, I'll tell you that I am pretty much 100% opposed to taking something for GPS so you can back up the scouts. I think that the first time they see you pull that GPS out, that is like chopping their knees out from under them. That's like they are trying to build confidence in something they're probably not good at with, map and compass navigation. And you don't even have to say anything. If they see you looking at your phone, then it's like, oh, they don't trust me. And I think that's a really bad message. So that's one thing. But what Mr. McAllister asked was about tracking. And I'm afraid that I can't really speak to that too well.
I'm with you. I don't use an app on the trail very much.
I don't even carry my phone on the trail.
I'll carry it for a few photos, but not Philmont. It's not gonna last.
Sure.
Long. Yeah.
Now signal is getting better out there. I mean, I remember when we did our trek in 17, I'd been in 90 and then wasn't back until 2017. And in 90, cell phones weren't a thing. In 2017, it was like, well, why would you carry one? There's no signal out there. And every year it's gotten incrementally better. And something that I found, especially, I had a lot of time at Phil Break when we were riding around and we were doing work, and we were doing a lot of work at different sites in the back country, and we were riding trucks in and out, and not hiking, just sitting there in a truck. I could surf on my phone, and it was rare that I didn't have signal. So there's a lot more signal out there than there used to be, but I don't want anyone to interpret that as I'm encouraging you to take your phone to do things, because it changes the whole dynamic of being in the back country when there are people looking at their phone. Especially, oh my goodness, don't be the loud talker trying to talk on your phone while you're going down the trail. That completely wrecks the vibe. But
a topographic map is so easy to use at Philmont because you have lots of topo. We don't have any topo here in the Great Plains, but you can spot mountains all around you. You can figure out where you are. It's
navigation landmarks are a dime a dozen at Philmont.
Right.
Philmont, so it's easy to do your land nav relative to some other places that don't have quite the recognizable landmarks to
but there probably are people that use apps, so maybe that's something that they can put in the comments on.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, if anyone out there listening knows of an app that's good for tracking, I've seen people with GPS watches that the watch tracks what they're doing, so they're not using it to second guess the navigator, which our goal is that even if they start as navigators, we want them to end as navigators, right? We want them to develop the competence and confidence and the skills to be able to use their map and compass to get the crew where they need to go. And I don't think that happens if you're cutting the knees out from under them and correcting things via GPS. Let them make the mistakes and learn from it.
Well,
what I think would be cool is if you had one of those watches that was tracking your route, and you went back home and you could download it to some sort of mapping software and just kind of check it. That would be cool.
It'd be amazingly cool. And I see people who do it, and they'll do like the flyover videos after where like the camera is following along the path of the trek and flying over the terrain. And that looks absolutely amazing. I would just say don't don't let it interfere with the scouts or the trek. Okay. Oh, look at this. A 15-year-old scout here wondering what you would recommend to take photos. Should I take a phone or a small camera? What do you think? You guys have thoughts? I definitely have thoughts. You guys have anything you want to comment real quick?
Buy an inexpensive digital camera.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Last one, I took a GoPro, which is really good on action shots, but you're going 2 miles an hour. There's not a lot of action shots on the hike itself, but maybe some of your program activities, those action shots might be cool. But
yeah, I'll show you what I use.
Yeah.
I'll show you what I use on the trail. Let me get the comment out of the way. I've thrown a sling bag over my shoulder here just to simulate a backpack strap. And I have an action camera. This is a Insta360 Ace Pro. And I have a spring clip mount that just sticks right here on my shoulder strap. And that's what I use. It takes amazing photos. It takes amazing video. It does not play games. It does not distract me from other things. And I carry this big honking action camera and batteries and a battery pack because this is what I do for a living, right? I am creating videos that I'm going to post as part of my business for the whole year upcoming after the trek or longer. I'm still editing video I took years ago for different things. So if you're as serious and maybe you're going to document the whole thing for your crew, something like this, I think the new version, the Ace Pro 2, you can get these for about $300 now, and the new version is like $400 or $500. I don't know. But what's an iPhone
Jeff,
cost?
are you mounting that to your strap, your chest strap?
Yeah, that's why I have a simulated backpack. It clips on right here. And the mount that I use actually can be it can be rotated, so I can have it up. Oh, I did that the wrong way. That's how it falls off. The other button is what rotates it. There we go. So it can sit here. This little mount can actually be used. It can work like a tripod. You can clip it onto something, on the ground, a tree branch, whatever. A lot of cool things you can do with this mount setup. I had a carabiner on my backpack strap and a little tripod, and the carabiner fit around the small part of the tripod. I have found this is the even more convenient way to do it. So I recommend if you need serious video and pictures, and you want to take a dedicated action camera cost half or a third of what an iPhone costs. So that's the other thing. Like parents, if you're thinking, well, my kid already has a phone, I'll just let him take the phone. Well, what's their phone cost? If that's an $800 phone, do you want to risk it on 12 days in very rugged backcountry, or would you rather send them with a $200-300 action camera that it's probably not going to get broken? It's waterproof, it's shockproof, but if it does, at least it's not that $800 phone. So,
well, and the other thing is charging it. How do you keep it charged if you're using it?
Yeah.
Several years ago, I bought a digital camera, and one of the features I was looking for was, did it operate on AA batteries?
Yeah.
Carrying an extra set of 2, 3, 4 batteries was a lot easier than, trying to get it charged in the backcountry.
Yeah, and let me see here. I've got
not every 15-year-old is going to, come away with or get the $300, $400 action camera like you had, Jeff. But yeah,
right.
Cell phone versus inexpensive digital.
Right, or adults as well. I mean, I think age is less relevant. A lot of people are going to use what they have, and that's absolutely fine. Like I literally, when I do a Philmont trek, it's a business trip for me. I have stuff to do. Like I have to have a good camera. That's why I spend money on it. But also, if I were a parent sending a kid with an $800 iPhone or $1,000 iPhone, I'd probably prefer to send them with. You don't even have to get the latest GoPro. One of the GoPros that I carry I got a whole bunch of action cameras, and the one that I use most, that I have used the most at Philmont, is a GoPro Hero 5. They're on 13 or 14 now. It's like really old, but the 5 is the first one that has really usable image stabilization. Like you can pick those up for $100. Like I'd probably get a 7 or an 8 at a minimum today, but you can pick those up for $150 off of Facebook Marketplace or eBay and send that, and you don't have to risk that cell phone. Now, I would say also that I think that the advisors, I recommend that you have at least 2 cell phones per crew that are just accessible but put away, and you're not on them using them, but you have them for an emergency, and preferably have them on different carriers. So maybe an AT&T and a T-Mobile, or a Verizon and an AT&T, or whatever you have. So then if one of you doesn't get a signal, and little Johnny fell down and broke his leg, which, who am I kidding? It's going to be an adult that got hurt, right? But when Mr. What's his name trips and breaks a leg, now you have multiple chances that a phone's going to connect, so you can call the infirmary. And at that point, if you don't know exactly where you are on the map, rather than trying to sort your coordinates out on the fly, just, you got the phone out to make the call, drop a pin and send that to the infirmary, and now they know exactly where you are as well. For an emergency, have the phone, but don't, I trekked with a kid a few years ago, played Jetpack Joyride for 3-4 hours every day. And his dad would complain, and I'm like, bro, you keep giving him the solar panel to charge his phone. This is a self-correcting problem. He's going to run his battery dead, and then too bad, so sad.
Yeah. The other thing another thing that I found out a few years ago, if you, whatever carrier you're on, if you dial 911, it will pick it up anybody. I mean, you can be a Verizon customer and an AT&T tower will pick you up because it's 911 and an emergency. So
which in a real emergency, you do that and say, hey, please send this to Philmont. Like, don't say, oh my God, send an ambulance. Like, the ambulance ain't making it up Mount Phillips. I hate to tell you. But it's best if you can call the infirmary. But if you can't, that's a great tip. I pulled this up. I'm going to drop the link when we're talking about power on the trail. Number one, absolutely do not assume for a second that you will find any place to plug in and charge a device while you're on the trail. You may find yourself at Poniel or one of the other camps that actually has power lines coming in. They are not allowed to let you use that to charge something, so please don't ask them. People, there's a big debate. Do you do USB batteries, or you do a solar panel, or both? I've tried both, and I'm stubborn. I keep trying solar panels because I'm like, come on, it's going to work this time. And it's not worth the hassle, to be completely honest. Some of the new panels were right on the verge of them being good enough that it's worth the hassle. But I've got some recommendations on power banks in this article, and I've shared that link for everyone. And I also have an article about solar panels. If you're feeling frisky and you really, you want to prove me wrong that the solar panel will work, I have recommendations that I think will give you the best chance possible of making a solar panel work out there in that article as well. I want them to work. I really do. They're just not all that reliable for a variety of reasons.
Somebody just asked a question about what kind of power bank. My experience, I haven't had a great experience, but I really kind of come to the conclusion that they're all pretty much the same.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm going to disagree with that.
Okay.
The power density is wildly different. And if we look at that article that I have for power banks, I actually have a chart in here where I've taken some of the most popular models and ones that I've tried. And I'm looking at it, and I have not updated that with the latest one, which
everybody needs a straight man.
I'm looking for it here. The this is the what's the company? Nightcore, the NB 10,000 They're on Gen 3 now. The third generation, these for a 10,000 milliamp hour battery pack, this thing is really light. And this has been the gold standard for the Gen 1, the Gen 2, and now the Gen 3 for backpackers. It's tiny, and this is a 10,000 milliamp hour. For most people, if you keep your phone in airplane mode, turn it off when you don't need it, turn it on, take your pictures, and keep it in airplane mode the whole time. This may literally be enough to get you through a whole trek, and it weighs. I don't want to tell you the wrong thing, and I'm looking on the box to see if they tell you the weight. I want to say it's like 8 ounces, but my scale is out of reach on the desk that I can't get to. So, so here's what I'm going to do. I will weigh it, and I will update this chart in the next couple days. But what I have them ranked based on power density. So for any given weight of how much, the Gen 2 was only 5.3 ounces. So I suspect it's a little bit lighter than that. But you know, the power density that I'm ranking them by is how much power do you get per unit of weight. So it's much more efficient. And these are pretty durable. Like this is a carbon fiber case on this.
Jeff, I'm glad I could be your straight man.
Sure. And what I'll absolutely say is people love to get the little it's like a power brick. It has a solar panel built into it, and they are almost universally a waste of time and garbage. Like the solar panel is too small to be of use. Like even sitting in full sun at the ideal angle all the time, it's not going to do much. Right. But then hanging it from your backpack where it's not the ideal angle and you're walking under tree cover and it's cloudy part of the time, it is absolutely not worth the extra weight to carry one that has a solar panel built into it. Those are garbage. Should not be.
Did we lose Scott?
We knew we were going to lose Scott.
Well, I know, but he is gone.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. He said he'd get about 25 minutes, and he stuck around for about 27 minutes, I think, before he had to go to his meeting.
I kind of had a tech issue here. Did we cover the things for 26, what the crew should be doing now?
That's what Scott covered. Yeah.
Okay.
And you said something about a question about power, and I didn't see that one. Where did you see that comment? Do you remember?
Power?
I thought that's what you said, that we had a question that came in about how to power.
The power banks.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So let's look at something else. Where was it?
Where should the 25s be now?
Well, let's come right back to that in a second. Let's see. We can get that off of the screen for now. We did have a comment. So Scott McAllister's question about how to track your trek. Right. And Greg answered that he tracked his with All Trails on his iPhone and used an Apple Watch to track the actual miles walked. Apple Watches, Pixel Watches, Samsung Watches, I've seen lots of those on the trail the past few years. And the great thing about them, as I understand it, because I don't wear a watch. I don't wear watches, rings, necklaces. I can't deal with it. Like, I don't know why. I get claustrophobic with stuff on me. I don't even like to wear shoes. But anyhow, I can't wear a watch like that. It would drive me nuts. But I've seen lots of people wearing them. And if I understand correctly, they don't have to be linked to the phone. The phone doesn't have to be on and communicating with the watch for it to track your trek. And the watches take a very low amount of power, which means that someone can carry like a 5 or 6 ounce, 10,000 milliamp hour power bank and fully charge everything before you leave. Put your phone in airplane mode. Put your, you use the watch as sparingly as possible, and you may be able to charge it a couple times off of your power bank, and that's all you need.
Yeah,
for the whole trip.
Apple Watch, they don't have a long battery life.
Yeah.
24, 30 hours, then they got to
Oh.
be recharged. So, and again, it's dependent upon how much you use them and so forth.
Yeah, and I would think that someone could simulate that. If you're going on a 12-day trek, then fully charge your Apple Watch, have it tracking you with the GPS, and then go for 12 days without plugging it in and only using your battery pack, and see if you make it the whole time. Or if you run out, in which case now you know you need a bigger battery or you need to change a setting on your watch or both.
Right. So,
Okay, 25 treks.
Cruise.
Where should people be now? Where are your crews in the process? Like, have you
well, all of your roster, as far as the number of people and names and so forth, needs to. You're late. It needed to be done May 1.
and wasn't it that this year it wasn't, you had to have it 30 days ahead of time?
Yeah,
It's like May 1. It doesn't matter if you're the last crew to hit the trail, it's May 1. And if you're
Right.
beyond that, then it's what, $150 to make a change?
$150. Medical should be, your medical should be uploaded by now. I understand once a year annual physicals, insurance issues, and so forth, and Philmont does too. But get those in, immunization records, food allergies, things like that. And if you are anywhere close on height and weight, just get absolutely serious about it, because, I know, and Jeff, too, the infirmary doesn't cut a lot of slack, particularly for adults.
Oh, yeah.
You'll be headed home or whatever.
Yep.
And
yeah, I went out a few days early last summer. So my crew was getting in like on a Monday. I got there on Friday. And I spent, or something like that, whatever it was a few days early. And I spent the few days before my crew got there going around base camp and shadowing people and trying to learn as much about how they do things as possible. And was able to get some good videos out and post out in the group to help people who are about to show up with things like making sure you had all your stuff. Here's something that you need to know before you get there. When you arrive, things are going to happen quick when you arrive at the Welcome Center. So your last leg of your trip before you get to the ranch, make sure that everyone has the things they're going to need when they get there. Any paperwork or money you're going to need to settle up your account at HQ, med forms, you need access to those. If anyone has prescription meds, you need them in the bottle so you can show them at your med recheck. Anything you're going to need for med recheck, be sure you have all that. All of those things that you may need, be sure you have them accessible in your like carry-on bag, backpack, whatever, as well as a water bottle. You're going to be walking all around base camp. You're going to need like a little backpack, not a backpacking pack, like a day pack and a water bottle for stuff you're doing around base camp. So have all of those accessible.
There's plenty of places on base camp to refill your water bottle. It's not like you're going to be, half hour away from a water source.
Right.
But, yeah. And the other, have that stuff. Physicals, bring the paperwork. Yeah. Because between home and the time you get to Philmont, God forbid, but something could happen and you need that paperwork. And
even if it's been uploaded successfully and you've got confirmation it's been uploaded successfully, you never know when something could go wrong. So having that backup copy is very important. But anyhow, so I got sidetracked.
Having been in the Welcome Center a number of years, they have your travel plans about as accurate as you can get, because they're scheduling people, their staff, and welcoming you in. If you are going to be seriously late, please call call the ranch and get a hold of the Welcome Center and tell them, hey, we've had a flat tire and, we're not going to be there till 8 o'clock tonight or something.
Yeah.
Keep them informed on your travel plans.
Yeah. So that's a task for the advisor. The crew leaders run in most of the functional things, but the advisors are generally still responsible for the logistics of getting people to the ranch and paying for things and that kind of thing. So,
getting your CPR wilderness first aid certifications in, uploaded and so forth. You should be at this point for a 2025 crew. If you haven't, you should have already had an overnight shakedown.
Oh yeah.
With your crew, figuring out, how to set camp, how to take it down and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to make a suggestion, especially for people who maybe your crew's going in a month or two and you haven't got all the shakedowns you want in and you're not sure how you're going to schedule them. You don't even have to do an overnight. Like, oh, I heard myself say it. And I'm like, no, what are you saying? Like, do an overnight, right? But in order to get practice setting up and taking down camp, that is hugely important. You'll understand when you get on the trail, you realize that the middle of the day, it's hot. Like early afternoon, it's really hot. You want to be done hiking before you get to midday or early afternoon, whenever possible. Every day that you have to walk in the heat means you're going to have to secure more water, treat more water. Like you're going to go through a lot more water because you're hiking when it's hot and people are sweating. And that's when the evening thunderstorms happen. It's just better to get up and on the trail early when it's cooler and more comfortable and people aren't sweating and burning through too much water. Everything's better when you're hiking early. But it's hard to get out of camp early if it takes an hour and a half to break camp and get packed. So practice for that, I think, is more important than practice sleeping in a tent. What that could mean is you spend 8 hours, you hike for an hour, you stop, you set up camp. Everyone gets in the tent, sits there for a minute and a half, and then the crew leader says, okay, everybody up, and you get out and you take the bear bags down and you pack camp up and you get everyone's bags together and you hit the trail and you hike for a half hour and then you stop and you do the whole thing again. And pick a period, 20 minutes, hour and a half, whatever, however much time the crew leader says, here's our campsite, let's set it up. And you go through everything, get your beer bags ready and throw them, and you get your tent set up, and you do everything like you're going to do when you get to Philmont. And that will help you work out. That'll help people with basics like how do you organize your pack so that you can get to everything you need to get camp set up quickly, and then pack it so that, here's the Cliff Notes version of that is pack it so that the things you're going to need next are on top and the things you're going to need last are on bottom. So pack it with what are you going to need, keep those things easily accessible. Things you're not going to need till later, you can bury them in the pack. Which kind of goes against the traditional packing idea of put your tent and sleeping bag in a certain spot and put heavy things in a certain spot and put light things in another spot. Maybe you can still do that, but I think for efficiency, it's often more important to have them in the order you're going to need them.
Right. And the emergency stuff, rain gear, first aid kit should be quickly accessible. Any medications, EpiPens, inhalers, readily accessible.
Yep.
Make sure crews headed out this year, make sure your EpiPen and inhalers are up to date, not expired.
Yes, very smart. And you need to arrive with them in the original packaging if possible. Right. Because all medications the infirmary wants to see in the original packaging. So I'm going to reinforce something that was in our agenda, and that is, let's see, which one is it? Emphasis that published guidebooks should be read and usually answer just about any question. This is an unofficial webcast. This is a discussion among people who like Philmont and have been a lot. But the official word on all these things you're going to find in the official Philmont publications. go to the Philmont website, get the guidebook to adventure, get the crew advisor's guide, any other publications they have are to be useful to you. They're going to give you the real answers. We're going to give you the best answers we can. And that's a segue to something else we're going to talk about. But I got sidetracked in talking about weight. I spent a lot of time last year shadowing departments and learning about Philmonts. One of them, I spent probably 4 hours in Med Recheck just observing and watching crews come through and watching people get pulled out and weighed and their blood pressure checked and watching people be pulled out of their crew and sent across from Med Recheck building, which is across from the main infirmary, being sent to the infirmary where they had to talk to the doctor. Some of those people rejoined their crew in 30 or 40 minutes. Some of those people got sent home. Don't mess around with med stuff. So number one, if you want to get no consideration and no grace, then lie about things on your health form so that you can pass the weight and height. Okay. If you say that you are 5'6" and you show up and you're very clearly 5'2", and it's obvious that you couldn't make the maximum weight, so you just changed the height on your health form, they're not going to work with you. Like you're trying to cheat the system and pull the wool over their eyes, you will be asked to leave.
Good. It's not a great example that you're setting for the youth either.
Yeah. Very bad example.
They a really smart aleck answer is, they posted them for a reason.
Sure.
And they're going to be out there. And read the guidebooks. 99% of the questions are going to be answered in there. And I know we're males and we don't read directions.
I can barely read to begin with. So and that's a thick book.
We all have our issues, but
I've read most of it.
Yeah, but it's there. It's a resource. Even if you read it on the plane on the way out or the bus or whatever, but get it under your belt. The youth leadership, have them. They should be doing their job now as you have your shakedowns and crew meetings. Who's the crew leader? You may not have a chaplain aide at every meeting with a prayer or whatever, but know what to
I've seen crews arrive and the ranger says, "Who's the crew leader?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, we need to vote on a crew leader."
Yeah.
So as adults, and I know we have some youth here with us on this live tonight. And by the way, we're still taking questions. Please ask any questions you have, share any experience you have that's relevant to what we're talking about, or even things we hadn't talked about if it's relevant, right? But if you haven't nailed down those jobs, part of your job as the advisor is helping them learn what their jobs are. Like we need to kind of edge method this, we need to educate them on what the job is and demonstrate briefly. I mean, hopefully you have experienced scouts that are going to Philmont. You don't have to demonstrate a lot. They already kind of get leadership, and, guide them on anything they need help with, and then empower them to actually lead. It's nothing to make you feel bad for a crew leader more than seeing that deer in the headlight look when they realize the ranger's only talking to them. They're not talking to the adults. And when the adults try to talk, the ranger's cutting them off and just talking to the crew leader. And the crew leader doesn't have a clue what they're doing. They've never been empowered to lead. They're out of their element. Let's set them up to succeed by helping them understand what the role is, how they're supposed to do the role, and then letting them actually get some practice leading their crew before they arrive and have to deal with the ranger. Because the ranger is going to help them no matter what, but let's set them up to succeed, right?
We've got 15 left.
Okay. Let's talk about etiquette real quick. So our agenda item says general etiquette for posting and responding. This is in reference to the Philmont Trek Talk group on Facebook and some of the posts that we've seen lately. We got a couple things that are a little troubling. Number one, I'll talk about one. You can talk about one, Darrel. The one I want to talk about is giving generic kind of rote knee-jerk answers to specific questions where that answer may not actually be appropriate. And the example I'm going to give that I think is very illustrative is someone asked about someone who's going to trek this summer that has a medical issue that requires a specific medication. And that medication has side effects that make the person taking it more susceptible to, was it viruses or bacteria or something? I don't remember, but it makes them more susceptible to something. So the question was, do we need to filter along with doing the treatment, micropure treatment, the Philmont issues? And people were chiming in, trying to be helpful, very well-meaning people saying, just use a micropure, just use a micropure. Well, that's the standard answer that we give when people say they want to filter is you are required to use a micropure because Philmont is a working ranch and there's poop everywhere. To be blunt, they have cattle and all sorts of other animals and they do what they want, where they want. We have streams running through Philmont that originate off property in ranches where there are fields with animals and the water runs through it and then it runs on the ranch. That's what we're drinking, right? We need to treat it with the micropure to make sure that it kills everything, because filters may or may not get that. I'm not here to debate filters. I'm here to say micropure is required. So the rote answer, the knee-jerk answer is you don't need to filter. But I don't think that was the appropriate answer for this parent who was asking about their child, because we're not physicians. We don't know. I'm not an epidemiologist. I don't know if the drug interaction that causes an increased sensitivity to virus or bacteria or whatever it was, I don't know if that influences what a doctor would say to do. If the doctor would say, yes, I really would like you to micropure and filter. So we're not helping anyone if we give wrong answers, inaccurate answers. Let's be sure that we're reading the whole question, understanding the question, answering it thoughtfully and accurately, and absolutely deferring when we don't know the right answer. Like, don't guess. Don't say, well, it's probably this. If you don't know, then maybe don't comment. Or, don't give a generic answer to a specific question when a specific answer is going to be more appropriate. Okay, that's my soapbox. So, Darrel, what was yours? You had a great one.
Well, my one. I mean, we love the dialogue and we love the interchange and the advice and the camaraderie that's developed. But this isn't the History Channel. Sorry. Well, back in 1992, when I went, we did this. Well, folks, things have kind of changed, and it's not irrelevant to make that comment, but try to keep it to the current and future. The person asking the question, kind of wants advice moving forward. And I mean, you put two people who've ever been to Philmont together, and they'll be talking about what they did, 20 years ago for the next hour and a half.
Right.
We love that interchange, but try to keep it on point and going forward. And I'm not going to pick anybody out about it, but I see that an awful lot, and I'm guilty as much as anybody else. But somebody asking a question has a specific need, and try to be on point and succinct in your answer.
Giving the wrong answer is worse than not giving an answer. Right. So it's better to just not say something than to say the wrong thing.
Yeah. And, back to the medical issue, a little bit of what you said, Jeff, we're here because we love the place and want everybody to have a successful trip. But the definitive final answer is always Philmont, and then medical issues, a call to the infirmary at the ranch. Yeah.
I think that's only, and I wrote, and I think I locked that thread down, which I almost never do. I hate locking threads in the Philmont group, in the Facebook group. I'm pretty sure I left a comment that said there are a lot of well-meaning people giving answers that aren't really relevant to the specific case here. I think the only correct answer to this question is discuss it with the infirmary. Maybe even this is your physician and the infirmary physician talking, or maybe Nate or someone at the infirmary, medical professionals talking about, specific medical issues for a specific patient, not generalizations about just use MicroPure. That's not helpful in that specific case. Okay. We talked about weight. We talked about
the appropriate answer. The appropriate answer is area code 575-378-2281. I've been in conversation over the last couple of months with some local residents in not Philmont, but Cimarron. Some of the things that crews arriving shortly. Wilderness Pledge.
I put it on the screen so that we don't forget it. So you go ahead and say what you're saying, and we'll come back to that.
Kind of working from the east end of town in, from 64 and 58. You got the gas station there at the end. The Kit Carson eatery is open. Definitely lunch. It's back open. Probably will be open for supper. They still across the board have various days that they are closed. Hiker's Coffee is there. Caitlin just posted a calendar. They're going to be open some evenings. Watch that. The Dragonfly is open. The pizza place has been, from what I'm hearing, has been closed most of the winter. May or may not operate this summer. Don't know that.
Oh, I'm sure you're going to talk about the St. James, and I want to bring up one thing about the St. James that I've heard from some staff that's been out there in the off season. Many of us know that the St. James is a tradition for a lot of crews post trek. You come off, you go to the St. James, you get like a bison burger or something. It's a really cool place, really neat experience, a lot of history involved there. But when the St. James was purchased several months ago, the new owners, I have heard that they pretty much doubled prices on most things. St. James was already expensive. So I'm not mad at them. I understand they're running a business. I am saying, if you're a crew leader and you're aware of the St. James and you're used to taking your crew there and you've built it into your budget, understand that it is much more expensive now than it was in years past. So be sure you budget appropriately. I don't want to talk anyone out of going there. If it's worth it to you to spend the money, absolutely still call and make your reservations, but check on the menu and pricing so that you can budget appropriately, because it ain't the same price you're used to, and it wasn't cheap to begin with. So there are lots of different places. Darrel's talked about some. I need to get with someone to help me update. I've requested of a couple people to help me update the article that I have on things to do in Cimarron that had.
Let's talk about that afterwards, Jeff. Also, Burrito Banquet's open. Classic place in town. Several of the mercantile general stores, a couple of them have closed. So be aware of that. The Creamy is still open, and Russell's gas station. The biggest one I heard is the bank. Supposedly the end of May is closing.
Oh my. So they had already lost the ATM that the bank had put in the time, to the time traders on site at Philmont. That was what, 2 years ago, something?
Just a second, Jeff. There is no ATM on Philmont.
Right, that's what I was saying, is they lost that. The bank had one in the tot a couple years ago, and it went away. So they had an ATM on the backside of the bank that you could go to, like you go into town. If the bank's closing, is there still going to be an ATM in town at all?
The only ATMs in town will either be at Russell's grocery store or the gas station on the far east end of town. Merchants in town what will take plastic, but you will not get cash back.
Gotcha.
So
So that is a real cash flow challenge. Bring the cash you're going to need.
Don't be expecting to run to the ATM and get $100 in cash or something, because it may not happen, or probably won't happen. The last I heard is there is some consideration that the bank may stay open. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I see that as kind of an issue, and
That's a great warning, so people can arrive prepared.
And the same way at the Tooth and Time Traders, they will take plastic for your transaction, but they're not giving you cash back.
Right.
So I saw that as kind of a real red flag for crews, arriving this summer. Plan accordingly, and you may want to have some cash in your back pocket.
Well, let's talk about that real quick, since we had talked a little bit about the TOT earlier, and you just mentioned them, and you mentioned cash and cash flow and cash accessibility. All right, I'm going to get this off the screen. That was the article with information about restaurants and hotels and other things to do. And we'll get this updated. Shopping, addresses, phone numbers, websites, all sorts of things on here to help you figure out what to do when you're in the Cimarron area. So I shared the link for that already. And Scout Tube, we are not ignoring your Wilderness Pledge GIA. We're going to get to that. Dang it, I talked myself into forgetting what I was about to say.
Cash flow and money.
Oh, yes. You can pre-order stuff. So if you have kids going out there and or adults, you're sending someone out there, or even you're going yourself. You don't want to have to deal with carrying cash, or are they going to take my card or whatever? Order it on the website. Pay for it with your credit card at the Tooth and Time Traders at the go to the Philmont site and go to the store.philmont.com, something like that. Takes you to Tooth and Time Trade. I don't know. So just Google Tooth and Time Traders Philmont. It'll take you there. You can pre-purchase. You could even be in base camp and get online and use your credit card and order it, and then just walk in and pick it up. Like as a parent at home, you could order and pay for something, and then your scout picks it up. You can order it ahead of time. You could order it at Christmas, and they pick it up when they get there 6 months later for their trek, 7 months later for their trek. Like they'll hold it. They'll make sure everything works out. And then you don't have to worry about, some things sell out over the course of the summer. And if there's a specific item that they have seen that they just absolutely have to have, maybe you'd want to pre-order it so that it will be there waiting for them, and you don't run the risk of them selling out before they get there. So that is something you can do. Advice for the Wilderness Pledge GIA.
Well, what is the purpose of the GIA? To reinforce and make sure the crew is cognizant and working within the guidelines of leave no trace, so forth. The GIA will have a meeting your first day at camp, and that person will be given some information about what their job is, what they should be doing. And I believe one of the things is a suggestion to take one of the 7 points of leave no trace and talk about that one point each day. But be observant of how is the crew working together. Are we being diligent in our, treatment of the environment, so forth. I don't know if that's the advice that Scout Tube, whoever's asking the question, but that's young.
Sure, I'll add something to that, and that is all three of the positions: the crew leader, the GIA, and then what's the other one?
Chaplain.
And the chaplain. Each one is going to have a meeting in base camp the night before they go out on the trail.
And
Yeah, an advisor, and they're going to get instructions on how to do it. So don't feel like, oh my God, I don't have everything sorted out for this role. The crew leader really needs to be kind of dialed in, but the GIA and the chaplain are going to get some significant help in the form of some instruction and some guidance and some materials to help them along when they get to the ranch. So I think those can show up a little bit more primed to absorb information, where the crew leader really needs to understand their role in a bit more detail, I think, before they get there.
And that person could be doing it in your shakedown hikes back at home.
Sure.
Are we picking up trash? Are we, treating the environment correctly?
Yeah.
So forth.
Yeah.
So,
And right. Well, and I would hope that the GIA is helping advise the crew to be successful with Leave No Trace on the shakedowns, and that the chaplain is helping with crew dynamics and morale of the crew and that kind of thing along the shakedown process as well, because those are important. I mean, shakedowns are sometimes as hard and as scary as going out on a trek if you're if you're not, over prepared already and don't have a comfort level.
Yeah. And while Philmont is a challenge, and, I understand people are looking at it as a once in a lifetime trip. Several of us have been blessed to be able to go multiple times. And, my advice to the advisors is don't over engineer, over plan, the trip. Stuff is going to happen, and it's part of the Philmont challenge of how does the crew respond, storming, norming, forming, all of that. I mean, that may happen every day, with issues that come up, and leave it to the crew. I should say leave it, but let the crew leader and the 3 youth leadership roles work through it with the crew, and you and the advisor as a mentor and advisor and guiding them. You'll be amazed how many problems they solve correctly. It may not necessarily be your solution, but it's a solution that they came to as a crew, as a consensus, and they're moving forward with it.
And I'm gonna make a suggestion for all the adults and lead advisors. I highly encourage you to get every adult that's going to be with you on your trek, and powwow or huddle up or whatever you need to do to get everyone together and say, listen, we are here to support the scouts, and we need to hold each other accountable, because at any given time, there's probably going to be one of us that is tired and not feeling great and grumpy and impatient. And that is when adults show their backside and step up and start barking orders and act like they're the crew leader. And it happens to everyone, where you have a moment where you're just not feeling it and you want to speak up and say, come on, just make a left turn here. Come on, let's go. No, bite your tongue, support each other. You may have to have like a code word. You may have a safe word among your adults that, hey, if you're starting to lose control and you may want to act like you're the crew leader, maybe you whisper, pineapple to your neighbor, and y'all step off and talk through whatever your issue is, so that, you can not step up and be the crew leader and undercut the youth that are trying to actually be leaders on the trek.
And it's a very fine line, taking the Philmont saying, you're the advisor and you're on vacation, but be cognizant that you are really still part of that crew, and you have you have responsibilities, health and safety for sure, but to the crew, how they operate and so forth. Just to say, hey, I'm carrying my personal gear and that's it. is that a responsible member of the crew? You may limit what you carry and you have a discussion, but you have a responsibility to the crew.
I think it depends on the person.
Well,
If you're the slowest person, you're already struggling. You may actually be asking, "Hey, can I not carry extra stuff because I can't keep up already?"
Right.
But
anyway,
try to be in shape so that doesn't become an issue.
I think last minute questions.
Yeah. If anyone has anything, we are wrapping this up shortly. So last call. We're already a few minutes over our allotted hour, which is fine. If there are any additional questions, Darrel, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate that you put this great agenda together. I think we covered a lot of things that are going to be helpful to people. I am so excited. I was at the ranch a couple months ago for Phil Break. I am likely going to be there for at least a few days this summer, visiting with some people. But unless if my knee gets sorted out, if for whatever reason it stops popping and swelling on me and hurting, then I will see if I can join a crew and get out there. But it's not looking good right now. As much as I want to go, I don't want to. I came off trail last year and slowed my crew down after I broke my foot in the morning and decided at the end of our Baldy Summit day that I was not fit to remain on the trail, and that was brutal. That scarred me for life, having to go through that and be a burden on my crew for that day. So no one wants to be in that situation.
Another aspect of Philmont.
I did the infirmary tent city and spent a lot of time in the infirmary. And it was the first time I got to ride in a Philmont vehicle in the back country. Not the way I wanted to, but I appreciate. I'm blanking on his name now, from the Tooth of Time Traders, who was making commissary or backcountry trading post drop off and pickups, and took me back to base camp. And wonderful guy, but I didn't want to ride with him, and I didn't. And Ronnie, who runs Infirmary Tent City, is amazing. And Jillian on her staff, they were wonderful to me and to all the people. So all the parents, I'll tell you, if your kid ends up in Infirmary Tent City, they may complain that there are actually rules. It's not a free for all, and they don't just get to play games all the time. And if they are medically able, if the doctors in the infirmary say that they can do chores, they will be assigned some chores. It's not a freebie to just lay around unless they need to medically. Don't freak out. What if my kid's really injured? They're going to make them clean the bathroom? Well, not if the doctor says they can't, but if the doctor says they can, then yes, they will have to contribute, because their goal is to get it back on the trail. And
everybody at Philmont knows what you have put in to get to Philmont. And their objective is, with all responsibility and reasonableness, they want you back with your crew in the backcountry and enjoying yourself.
So hopefully things will work out and I can still join a crew. I'd love to fill that Philmont Free Agent role, especially now they need more adults with wilderness first aid. I am wilderness first aid CPR qualified. I've been a couple times. I'm likely not going to be a liability to a crew. I really hope that I am able to join a crew. It's just not looking good right now. And that hurts my soul. It is so painful to watch everyone get ready to go and know that I actually had crews that had invited me to go with them, and I just can't right now. So wish me luck. Everyone keep your fingers crossed. If you have any additional questions, we're out of time for tonight. Please post them in the Facebook group. That is, if you're not aware, if you're finding this, if you found this broadcast and didn't know we had a group, then here is how you find us. That is going to be in the chat down below, or you can try to pause the video and type it out, whatever. Either one will get you there. It's a great group. We got about 25,000 people, mainly adults, who are taking crews out to Philmont. And our volunteer job that we have stepped up to do is helping share knowledge and help people get the best information to have the best trek possible out there. So, Darrel, thanks for being here. Big thanks to Scott, who had a scouting meeting he had to go to, but it was starting late. So he actually logged in with us right before that meeting. So thanks to Scott for that. Thanks for everyone who asked questions and for all the people who participate in the group. We'll be back next month. It will be, what did we say? Was it the 10th, June 10th? Whatever the second Tuesday of the month is, we'll be back then. I think it's June 10th. It's always 9 p.m. Eastern time, because that's the only time zone that matters to me.
And I will be at the ranch in Philmont, and hopefully we'll be able to find a good Wi-Fi link. And
that'd be awesome.
Live from the ranch.
I'd love to hear some updates live from the ranch. And my wife sent a proposal today on when we might go out there. And I want to say it was late June to coming back like the 2nd of July or something. So I think she's going to go with me. We're going to go do some sightseeing in the area, visit some people at the ranch, and hopefully maybe do something at the PTC that'll let us get her back out. She's never been to the backcountry. So that's another thing that before we shut it down, if you have people in your family that either don't want to backpack or just aren't up to it, maybe they'd love to, but they can't. Maybe they just don't even want to backpack. There are other options. Go to the Philmont website, and under the Philmont Training Center section, they have educational things that you can do to advance your knowledge within scouting, volunteer leadership, or paid leadership, whatever. But they also have just entertainment things. If you have kids, they have kids programs. If you just would like to be able to go out and see something in the backcountry, you can show up at base camp and say, hey, can I go somewhere in the backcountry? And they'll say, thanks for asking. No. But if you go across the street to the Philmont Training Center and sign up for a program that does things in the backcountry, now they still have requirements for the medical form and whatever else they have. But you will actually be able to go in the backcountry and do something within, the auspices of whatever you've signed up for and whatever the program available at the PTC is. So they have family camp, for example. I know last summer, the few days before my crew showed up, I stayed at the training center, and I messed up my reservation and I had it one day too short. So my last day over there at the training center, a family showed up to use the tent that I was in. But I got to talk to them. They were wonderful people. And I moved to another tent, and they got the one that they wanted. And they had their little kids, like elementary school age kids. And there were all sorts of activities for them to do, organized things, some in the backcountry, some at the training center, some around. It was a wonderful program. So there's lots that you can do at Philmont outside of a trek as well.
Yeah. Philmont is more than just backpacking.
Yeah. And actually, when my wife and I go, we're either going to rent a tent at the training center, like I did last summer, which they're bigger than the base camp trailbound and homebound tents slightly. They're more like, it's like a staff tent, basically. It has a locker and power outlet and a couple beds. We're either going to rent one of those or rent one of the rooms at the Via Philmonte. I'll have to see what's available and what that costs, but we're going to do something like that. You don't even have to be in scouting to do that, if I'm not mistaken. Like, you can just go to the Philmont Training Center website, and you can literally book a tent, pay for it online, show up. It's like being in a hotel room, but it's a PTC tent. It's pretty cool. So that's enough for tonight. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate you. We'll be back. I think it's June 10th, second Tuesday of the month at 9 p.m. Eastern. Till then, I think we're done. Is anybody not ready?
Hike on.